let's go.
Let's go.
We live.
Get your hands up. Get your hands up. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. The one and only Jelle Keizer.
Hello.
What's up?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's this is the third time?
Second, I
This
think.
is the second?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we did two with Mighty Fools.
Or
one.
No, one. And that was like the month after we quit Mighty Fool, so it was just me.
Yeah, that's the effect I have on people. I get them to quit. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No,
Thanks.
just for people just checking in, maybe a little bit of context is helpful here because your name is Jelle Keizer, but you're formally known as Mighty Fools.
Yeah, correct.
For the people who go way back into the EDM scene.
For the old people.
Way back, I think it's one of the most used vocals still in DJ sets.
Yeah.
It is. It was one of the most played tracks because of the acapella on Tomorrowland this year.
This year?
Yes.
Amazing.
It charts every year with the festival season.
Where does that vocal come from? Is that you or?
I wish. No, it was just a sample, and I chopped it up like next level chopping, like we used to do back in those days. With like, we came from the Fidget house, which was all based on samples and chopping up stuff. So it was a different lyric, and we chopped it up to this vocal.
And the original drop, if I have to think about it, it goes like do 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 do
Yeah.
do do bloop bloop bloop, something like that. Everybody can sample this, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it was kind of an experiment that turned out better than we expected. But like the first sound on the first kick is like a distorted clap.
Ah,
Oh, really?
It's super random, but it does like dow. And that gives it the impact, but it's like a super random thing that happened by a lot of
Played
accidents.
the track a lot.
Yeah, man.
Not everybody did,
Awesome.
by the way. It was a big hit.
Huge track.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big moment for our career as well. It changed things to the like the next level. I mean, we were already touring international, but after that track dropped, things
you
went...
guys were actually touring international pretty quickly because I know when we kind of entered the international scene, you guys were already there.
Yeah, I think we did our first Australia tour in 2008.
Whoa!
I actually still remember Jelle because I think we first met at the Rock Academy when we were in the same class.
Yeah, we went to the same school.
And I still remember back then, I guess that was 2008, 2007, because during that school, you guys kind of broke through with the whole Fidget movement.
Yeah.
And then you started doing shows in Australia and stuff, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
And then I had to quit school.
Yeah, and then you had to quit school, and I quit 3 months later. That's also your effect.
Yeah, so I make you quit school and you make me quit DJing.
Exactly. No, it's pretty insane. As in, I'm not sure if many people know what Fidget is, because right now it's not that big anymore, right?
Cookers.
Yeah, but I think now it's kind of non-existent, but also bass jackers were like inspired heavily by the Fidget sound in the early days.
Yeah.
And I still remember we had a studio session at one point in 2000 something.
Oh, I don't remember anymore, man.
Nothing came out of it, but we went to the studio.
Yeah. No, but we were definitely inspired by a lot of those classics. Yeah, Switch, of course.
Yeah.
What was it called? Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah, Crookers, of course.
Sinden,
Sinden.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that was a cool time as well, and I must say that. And yeah, it was weird because it was just before the big dance boom, kind of.
Yeah, right before the big EDM bubble, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's kind of underestimated how much impact that typical era made on EDM in general. Like so many ways of producing, like different production tricks all happened in that era and that period. And also sounds and mashups finding their way through the internet. That was all that era and those sounds. And I think EDM is like founded on the foundations of the Fidget house.
I listened to it and became a lot more experimental, like you said, with the clap on the one, with distorted and stuff like that. You would hear stuff that you couldn't explain what it was, which made you like, hey, this sounds cool, let's throw it in. That also came from that era, like just weird sounding things used as leads or used as effects or drums. It was really definitely
Yeah,
big
like
foundation of EDM.
I think back then you were really forced to think out of the box because there was not really a box yet like there is now.
Yeah.
So everybody was doing the craziest shit, and the more crazy it got, the more attention you got. So things went crazy.
And
Yeah, amazing.
how does that? I'm not sure if you recall, because we talk a lot about authentic and authenticity and finding your own sound and stuff. And if I think about it, for you, you really picked a niche at some point and
Yeah.
kind of doubled down on it. Um, what were you one of like the founding fathers of Fidget, or were you already like of copying like Crookers and stuff?
Yeah, we were heavily copying everything. But I think we were one of the first in the Netherlands to sort of discover this sound. So some people think we brought it to the Netherlands, which was not true because there was definitely a big underground movement going on already. But we were just at the right place at the right time. But I do remember in the year when I went to school with you that I was already super into the fidget house stuff, and I was telling everybody like, this is going to be huge. You have no idea. Next year, this is going to be the next big thing. And turned out I was right. Lucky for me. But I felt it in my whole body, like this sound, it hasn't reached its peak yet. And if we jump on it now, and we really loved it, like beyond loved it. I listened only Fidget House back then, and it was like I was thinking, breathing, dreaming.
Yeah.
Everything was about this sound for me. So we were literally living it. And
True
I think,
believer.
yeah, for sure. And I think that also partially created our success in such a short time, because we started Mighty Fools end of 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And mid 2008 we were did our first Australia tour. Early 2009 we did our first.
Insane.
Yeah.
Year.
2009 I think January or something we did our first USA tour, and we went back like a zillion times after that. And I think we were a bit too early because the scene were not professional as they are now back then. So
Yeah.
but it was an interesting time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after your Mighty Fools period, you because that stopped about what is it, 4 or 5 years ago?
6 already.
6 already, yeah. 6
Yeah,
years.
2018.
Ah.
I just said when you were just getting coffee, Joe, I said to Jelle, like, 2018, it's like 2 years ago, it feels like.
Yeah.
And then, oh no, it's already 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I saw this tweet last week. Like in 1 month, we can say that 2000 was 25 years ago.
Crazy.
No.
Crazy.
Yeah.
No.
That's sick, right?
This hurts.
Yeah,
Physically
this
this hurts.
Yeah.
25 years ago is like 75, you know? It's like
Yeah.
1975.
Crazy.
70s. The Beatles were at their peak 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to go to, like you ended up with Mighty Fools, and there was a conscious decision, I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough decision. As I previously explained in the podcast with you, which is the only thing we ever explained the whole story, by the way. So if
you can
anybody's
still look
interested,
it up if you go to YouTube. There's
Joey's
it's online.
podcast. And but in short, I think we were just way beyond what was mentally possible. And we never went on holidays. We didn't really think about mental health at all. That was not really a thing back then. And especially Andy, who I DJ together with, he didn't went to one single vacation in 10 years and sort of got in too deep to stay healthy and sane, basically. We were doing more than 100 shows a year, so pretty heavy schedule for 10 years straight, all over the place. So we would fly from Chile to Australia to the US without a pause, like going literally a circle around the planet. And if you're not really aware of your mental state, you can basically lose yourself pretty quick. So we decided that it would be better to end the project and remain good friends. So we're still good friends, actually. We speak to each other on a weekly basis still.
Yeah.
And so that's all good. So we saved the friendship, but we had to stop the touring and the DJ schedule. And the day after we let the world know that we would quit, Avicii Snooze came out the next day.
Really?
And yeah, so that was kind of a crazy situation, because then all the Dutch press, all the media, like the TV shows, they all called us if you wanted to come to the TV studio and talk about depressed DJs. Well, I've never met Avicii, so we declined everything because we could not say anything about
Yeah.
somebody else's mental state. So that was a difficult time.
I can imagine. Yeah, it was a low for the EDM scene.
Definitely, yeah, but also it brought some positives. Luckily, that nowadays mental health is openly discussed. Everybody's very aware about that. That the DJ life is not just about parties, but there's a lot more going on. So that
And
brought some positive things.
and what are you implementing in your life today that you kind of took from that experience from your DJing life?
Oh man, like my whole life has flipped upside down to, yeah. I got a son. I'm a house father now. I mean, it's a whole different life, but still, I know all the peaks. I know how it feels. I know the adrenaline,
Yeah.
so I feel like I can place situations very easily in like a very how do you say that, like a sober way of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not very impressed with things most of the times,
Yeah.
with in a positive way,
You are living the boring life.
and I love it.
Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah, same here. Ralph is struggling to agree, but the boring life is
No, I agree. Boring is good.
But I do think the touring gets you it puts you through stressful situations,
yeah.
and with flights and some, like especially for you, like in the early days, not really much arranged. And I had a few situations as well where you're like, where's my pickup? Oh, there's no one. I don't have any money to get to the hotel or whatever. But that does set you up to be like, you know how to handle stress. I think it does. In that way also, yeah, like you said, shaped you. I think that goes for me as well. And yeah, that's you have to also, like, 10 years is a long time to
Mhm.
be full-time touring. That's really,
That's
that's
intense. Yeah.
crazy, and it probably flew by just like that. Or
Yeah, I think that's the biggest risk also for DJs who are doing schedules like this, that time flies by so fast that you sort of forget to actually think about what's going on in your life,
yeah,
because it's just one big hectic roller coaster, and then suddenly
Yeah.
a track like Footworker happens and things were already going crazy, and then it suddenly goes next level and you have to step it up even more while you're still adjusting to what the lifestyle at that point was.
yeah,
So
It's very hard to kind of pause and zoom out every now and then because the train just keeps going, and even especially when a track like Food Rocker hits, it even starts driving harder and harder and harder. Um, it's very hard to pause and to zoom out and to kind of understand what's happening because you're in it, you're in the storm, right?
yeah, and you love the storm
And
at
you
that
love the
point.
storm, yeah.
It's your passion. It's what you live for. You dreamt of being in the storm. So when you're finally there, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is amazing. And then suddenly you find out it's not always that amazing.
It sucks.
yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, and I also always find it hard to keep like track of your like hometown friends and stuff.
Mm,
And you don't really, like, I realized that when COVID hit, it's like I have friends in Holland that are like my hometown friends, but I wouldn't be like hanging out often, and because I was always gone, so I would like talk to them, and but then I realized during COVID, like, oh well, no one is really. This sounds really sad, but like no one is hitting me up like, hey, let's hang out, because they were just programmed to think like, oh, he's always
he's
away
not there,
anyways.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I really had to actively like build that back up a bit, and that's something that you also kind of, yeah, you can't really keep a very active social life, and that while the job is very social, but it's like different people every week, and that's also just, yeah, it's something, it's very fun but also like weird.
Yeah.
It's
So how
weird.
was that first awkward Dutch birthday for you during COVID?
Yeah, that's always funny because like you're kind of like, oh yeah, how do I behave, or like you're like, how do I
How do
how
I
do I go
talk
to
to
this
people?
normal party? Oh, we sit on chairs, and
So
we
where do I
we
DJ? Where is the
yeah, yeah,
where's
yeah.
the
Where's
rider?
my
Where's
rider?
my
Yeah.
rider? Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No,
but it's always fun because you have to then explain also to like family members, like they also see you as this superstar, but you're still the same guy. So you're kind of like downplaying because they're, oh, you were in Vegas, and you're like, yeah, yeah, and but I also want to hear about them because to me that's just another work day or something. So it's a
Yeah.
really weird contrast for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, well, I'm interested. Like, how was the process after that? As in, at least for me, like quitting my career was kind of the easy thing as to do, and then I kind of fell into this dark hole
Mm-hmm.
because the bigger question arose, and which was like, and now, like
Yeah.
you're still a pretty young guy. You already had like a whole career behind you, and I never really thought about now what, like that question. How did you found to answer that question for yourself?
Yeah, that took some time, to be honest. It was probably the worst time in my life until then, because my whole identity was being a DJ. When I was 14, I already told everybody I was a DJ and that was my passion in my life. So suddenly I was not a DJ anymore. I was not booked. I had no schedule. I had nothing. So I had to search myself, and that was pretty interesting, actually. Also confronting on certain levels, but it gave me a lot of space because I used to be only seen as a DJ as well. So finally, there was some room for my own interests besides the music, and people were not always asking me about, "Hey, how's Andy doing?" Because that was always the first question when I was somewhere alone, like, "How's the other Mighty Fool going?"
Yeah,
And I sort of felt like I'm more than just
yeah,
the DJ duo, So it took some time to find myself, and I tried many different things outside of music. First, I wanted to quit music entirely. I mean, I kept releasing some music under my own name, just because I enjoyed it, like on a certain level. And I did some shows in Holland. I agreed with my agency back then that I would only do shows that were easy to travel, only in Holland, really small focus, just for some fun, to sort of how do you say that? Lose the addiction of the shows,
hmm
I mean, I really needed the
dopamine
shows
shot.
to sort of build it down to the boring life,
Yeah,
and I did that for like I don't know, 2 or 3 years until COVID, and then I decided I was really done with it.
Mm.
I did like a course to learn car wrapping and stuff, just different things, because I had no idea if I had any other skills beside making music and DJing. I
yeah,
had no clue because I never tried anything else.
yeah.
So I really had to develop skills and find some self-awareness, like, hey, you can do this as well. Hey, you're actually pretty good with some tools, and you're actually handy with your hands and stuff. All these things I never knew before.
Yeah.
So that was it was interesting, but I'm very happy it all happened, and it really shapes you for later in life.
Great to hear that.
Yeah, it's an interesting to hear. Also, that you like picked up car wrapping or of all things. That
I need a car rapper, by the way.
you do. No, but it's when I think of the future, I'm still young. It You just don't know. I'm so caught up in what I do is what I am. It's just
Mm-hmm.
totally my DNA.
Yeah, that's the identity that Jelle meant. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So I can
yeah,
totally relate. I get it. But Jelle lived it. I imagined it, and so that's really interesting. And also, man, it must be rewarding and confronting at so many levels. But I will see when I get old.
you know,
Not
you
that
know what's,
you're old, but
you know what's,
in the future. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what's, well, not necessarily fun, but what stands out to me is that if I get clients here, like who are like bigger DJs, and you simply ask them, what do you enjoy outside of music? Probably the same for Ralph. The answer is, I don't know,
Oh, I
because
do know.
no, but yeah,
Surfing,
for
which I
you it could
never
be
do.
gardening because you like gardening,
I
but
do like gardening. Yeah.
for most of those artists, like everything in their life is built around music, and they kind of forget about the fact that they still have other passions or skills, or and you really need to reconnect with those things because you really lost them along the way. because the hyper
Yeah, I do
focus
think at
went.
some
And
point, and that maybe comes with success also, that brings you a lot of comfort in which you can
Yeah,
find out other things about yourself.
Hmm.
And I do. That's definitely a difference when we were starting. You have this kind of hunger, like, man, nothing else matters. It's just target acquired. Let's go.
yeah,
And then at some point, when you get a little bit more comfortable in life, and yeah, you
the
do.
worst.
Huh?
It's the comfort is the worst
for
for
No,
me
me. It
no,
it's
was
that's the
killing.
best. Yeah,
I
that's what you.
for me
Yeah,
for me it really like that changed from like music is my passion and I want to do this. That was everything, and then like all of a sudden like things are going pretty well. The releases are coming. I have shows, and then kind of thank God for COVID because it that really hit me like it was already the process of like, hey, is this still my passion? And COVID was like, okay, now you have to really figure it out because without anything, will I still love making music? Took some time.
Yeah,
Um, and
but you
that
know,
made me
it's
also
so
realize,
contradicting because actually that comfort that you gained and everything, it gives you the choice. It's better than you have to do something out of necessity. I mean, that's the thing to be grateful
but
for the choice. That's like
for
the
sure.
biggest thing there
No,
is.
I was always very grateful, but also did kind of go into a little bit autopilot, especially with all the tours. You just like you love doing them, but you just go and it's some things blend, so a lot of nights feel the same. And after COVID, luckily, I also realized, hey, I need a hobby next to, and I found it luckily,
Let me
next
guess,
to
golf.
music. Hey, golf! But I did try skateboarding first.
Oh yeah,
Oh
So,
wow.
and
we
then
can
I
tell.
dislocated my shoulder, and I realized maybe this is not for me as a
golf is
30-year-old
one. Yeah,
old man. But then I realized, hey, that's something I can do totally for fun. There's nothing like I need to get with that. How do you say? Like nothing. I don't need to earn any money with it. I can just do it and have fun. And that's because of that. I also found a lot of fun back in music again, which is the foundation for success eventually. I believe so.
I think
And
when music as a hobby turns into a job, it's very important to find new hobbies, new ways to relax and take your mind away from the music to look at music fresh again,
yeah,
just to take yourself out of that position at some points. And that was the mistake that we made, that we didn't had any other hobbies or interests, and we went all out, and
yeah.
that bit us in the ass
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah,
well, there's
yeah.
always like two side of things, right? Like that hyper focus also brought you the success, but maybe you've extended it a bit too long. But
Yeah.
as Ralph said, in the early phases of your career, and especially for you since it went so quick.
That
Um,
might be also a thing because when we
mhm.
started, also in 2007, our first Australia tour was, I think, 2010.
Yeah, so you have some time to
Yeah.
mentally prepare and
No,
learn
even
how the
later. I
job
think
works.
2011. Yeah, 2011. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's when we
Yeah,
went
it
to
was
Australia. Yeah,
yeah,
was
But
pretty
Ralph,
hardcore.
you did break through 2009 with the DJ booth.
that's true. Yeah, there was
Everybody
a
on
life-changing interview. That's
interview. Yeah,
true.
on YouTube, the
Yeah,
DJ booth 2009
it
with bass
also broke
checkers.
DJ Epster sitting on the toilet.
True, true.
yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
it's funny always to me that that's like a really there's with more DJ have this, but that's one of the videos of you guys I would watch and be like, wow, that's bass checkers.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And then years later, I we work together, we hang out, and it's like that's just so funny to me.
Yeah, man, that was so funny because it was in 2009, and I think the track we did with I was working on the break of what we would become Grit later, our collab with Dyro, and I think that released in 2013. So that
mm,
was already a
Wow,
4-year-old melody.
Wow.
wow,
Pretty
sick
insane, huh? The music,
yeah.
man, it's fucking
thing.
magic.
Hey, Jelle, let's fast forward to today, as in what you're doing today. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Um, no, what do I do today? I have
What,
no idea.
what's your profession? What's your other identity?
They call it an A&R, but I have no idea what it is.
Can you describe your profession? Like, what do you do on a daily basis? What does an A&R life, a day in the life of an A&R revealed looks like?
A lot of coffee. Uh, No, on a serious note,
Oh, revealed.
yeah,
Oh, you were at Hell Deep, right?
I were at Hell Deep. Yeah,
But we had 16 over there.
yeah.
Oh yeah, you told me revealed. Joey told me. Oh, I was still under the impression you were at Hell Deep.
This guy.
Sorry, man.
I mean, it makes sense. I worked at both,
Yeah.
so that's
This
true.
is proof that it's all unscripted.
But you still work at Hell Deep also, or that's
No,
in the past days now?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So after just a really short story, after I quit DJing and everything, I went teaching a bit at the HBA Herman Brood Academy, the school where Garrix and those guys also went. For the people who don't know,
Now, please
just to
let me. Yeah, I actually also think that's interesting. Yeah,
What?
yeah. That must be interesting.
Teaching.
Yeah, I thought about that for quite
yeah.
some time. It must be interesting to teach.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
you
is.
have so much experience. Yeah.
honestly, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And you get to work with all these new talents, and I can name a whole list of people who were in my classes that are now big time DJs, and I'm super proud of that. And
Oh, that's sick.
seeing them grow from like discovering what sound fits them to being really good at their job, that's amazing. So it was a lot of fun, and also taught me a lot about myself, because in that time I was still searching for myself a bit as well. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Then
One other question, because I actually think, yeah, I'm interested, dude. I hope everybody at home is as well. The kids in the class, did they see you as like the teacher and like, yeah, whatever, dude, or they also see you as somebody who really made waves
As a mentor.
as an artist himself?
yeah, it really was very different for basically every student. Like some students were really about what I done in the past. Others really didn't give.
Or Red says,
I don't know if we can swear.
yeah, we can swear.
They really didn't give a fuck, and they just saw me like a teacher, like any other
Okay.
teacher. And some kids were super interested in basically getting any feedback they could, and some were not interested at all. And the ones who were asking, sometimes even stalking me for feedback, they are the ones who are really successful now. So that also gave me a
Yeah.
lesson on how mindset and motivation is probably one of the biggest key takeaways of how to become successful in this profession as well. So it was for me just as interesting as it was for them, I think. And then Heldeep called me if I was interested in assisting them on the product manager and A&R side of things, and sounded very interesting to me. And I had a bunch of friends working there, and I know Oliver Heldens from back in the days, so it made a lot of sense. So I did that, and I was there for almost a year and a half. And then Revealed gave me a call that the new A&R position was open, and
Okay.
I went for that, and I'm now there for over a year and a half already.
Yeah, I think Revealed's also a little bit bigger in scale, I think.
Yeah,
Although I really like Hell Deep and what they're doing now with the other labels as well. And I
for
think
sure. Yeah, it was
Oliver,
a really fun time to join them, because they were just starting to set up the techno label Hylomatic.
yeah.
And before Mighty Fools, nobody knows this, but I've been a techno DJ for like 5 or 6 years, also touring.
Oh.
So that always has a special place in my heart, that whole sound. So it was a lot of fun to work on that label as well.
Yeah.
And now with Revealed, I can also bring a bit of the techno influences in there. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a good idea to work again together again, because for us, Revealed's always has been
Shameless plug, right here.
Is he
shameless plug.
seriously
Hey,
doing
why
this?
not, man? No, but we
You
actually,
got my number. You know where to find
yeah,
me.
we know
For
it's
everyone
fine.
watching, this is how you network.
Yes, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
No, but it's a lot of
network.
it's a lot of fun for me, like as an A&R, to just work with basically a lot of old friends. It's feels very very easy, and we just grab a coffee and talk a bit about music, and usually something magical turns out of that, like, hey, I got a track that actually fits right what you were describing at the moment.
Yeah.
And these things, they
It feels
really
like
develop.
an old boys network now. Eh?
Yeah,
This is how they do it in politics as well.
exactly. We all keep,
Yeah, but that's kind of how it works. It's a small world, and
Yeah.
if I go to ADE every year, I see the same faces, and they all work at some other place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm with this agency now. Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm with that label now.
A
But
quick,
it's the same people
Still
for
the
15
same.
years.
quick question about
Carousel.
that.
Yeah.
Quick question
It's
about
funny.
that for the young people watching and like the aspiring artists watching, because for us it's easy to phone you because we have your number and it's easy to connect. But the question I get a lot from people is, how do I get in touch with all those A&R managers? Because I've emailed them, they don't reply. Like I've DM'd them on socials, they don't reply. What is a way to kind of impress an A&R, or at least get in touch with an A&R?
Good music that impresses an A&R and nothing else, at least for me. I mean, I can only talk from my own perspective, not even necessarily from the revealed company perspective, because I'm just an A&R within the company and I do things the way I feel like is the best way of doing it. And I listen to every demo I get. I respond to pretty much every demo I get. And if I hear potential in something, I usually give pretty extensive feedback. And the annoying thing is that I've been a producer, so sometimes I will send you screenshots of EQ curves just to improve the track. I'm that type of guy.
Yeah.
But usually, it's not necessarily about how good you master, how good you sound design, but if the idea is good, I mean, I can hear through everything else. I know when I hear a good idea and what it will take, if it might take a collab
Yeah.
or just a good engineer or whatever to finalize the product. So I also don't look at social media numbers. I really don't care about it. So we declined somebody with 12 million monthly listeners about 2 months ago, and we accepted somebody with 30. It says nothing for us. It's the luxurious position we are in as a label, that we've got such a big catalog that we don't just need hits. So we can actually look for talent. And yeah, sometimes I also DM people like, hey, this track is amazing. Actually, 2 weeks ago, a guy that I've been following for years, really small time, basically sort of hobby DJ, he posted like a snippet on his stories, like, I'm working on this right now. And I thought it sounded amazing. And I was like, mate, when it's done, send it to me. And he was like, okay, I'm going to work on it right now.
Yeah.
And about 3 hours later, I get the final track and I signed it within 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how quick it can go. Yeah.
Yes, just because of
I
that
think
one sound clip that really resonated to me. And I was like, wow, this is actually amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's really like valuable, also quite unique as an A&R, that you can hear through the idea, because that's what I always with A&Rs, or always sometimes struggle with. That I have some idea, and because I'm a producer, I can hear or like already feel this is where it's going to go. Um, yeah, and sometimes it doesn't come across at the A&R.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for a lot of starting producers as well, because in their head, their track already sounds way better. And I wonder if, like, for you, you can usually hear through it, but how would you advise those starting producers or me to like get that idea across, or how do you manage that if the A&R just is like doesn't feel the idea yet? How would you continue?
Well, I think every label is different and has different goals, has a different sound. There's different people working there, different vibes. So I don't think any label or A&Rs for that matter are actually comparable. Like everybody works in different ways and look for different things. So for one A&R, they might just want like the finished product, like mastered and all, as complete as it can get, just to decide if they want it or not. And other A&Rs might look more into the ideas and feel like, hey, we can collab this, we can work on that, and we can mold this into something that fits the label. And I don't think there is a golden rule for that. I think that's just getting to know what a label usually puts out there, getting to know the team and the people, if that's possible. And of course, that's a lot more difficult for a starter than for Mr. J Hardway. But still, it gives you valuable insights just to trace the ways a label is working and what they care about and what they put out and how they chart, what their DJ support, all these kinds of things. They'll give you a picture of what matters to this label and what doesn't. And for Revealed, for instance, we look completely different towards music, tracks, energy than other labels. So it's really about finding a fitting label for the track instead of working the other way around and trying to fit the label. You have the track
Yeah.
first, and then you decide what
Is
might be the best home for it.
is this something you also discuss with the label, or do you have to like adjust your way of working, like compared to let's say Hell Deep and Revealed? Is there some things that you do differently, or do you go to the label and say I can work for you, but this is how I work? I wonder how that
It's a
works.
balance. I mean, they know who they're taking in. So when I went there the first time and we had our first coffee at the office, I told them like, hey, I really enjoy techno as well. I look for these type of sounds. These are the things that I really feel comfortable with. House and tech house as well, for instance. So not just big room and EDM stuff. And they were like, yeah, cool. If you can make that work with the label, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And luckily that turned out really, really good. And I'm really happy with how the labels are currently going. We also started a new house label about half a year ago, and it's going really good. So we're actually
Nice.
expanding with the type of sounds as well. And but also as an A&R, you have to sort of be able to turn off your personal opinion and listen to what fits the label.
Yeah.
So my personal taste is very different than the revealed taste, for instance, but I can separate both.
I think you're hitting a very important point here, and I can see Ralph and Jopke nodding as well, because that's what always annoyed me with A&Rs, is that I always got the feeling like you're just giving me your personal opinion and not an objective piece of feedback, you know?
You hear that, Jelle? He finds you annoying.
No, because back then he wasn't an A&R.
Yeah, but I think it will never be.
Back then I
Everybody has
liked you
their
because
own
you weren't an
emotion, you know.
A&R.
But honestly, nobody likes A&Rs.
True.
No, the thing is, it's yeah. I mean, in the end, I'm still declining most of the music, and I have to say no to like 90% of the tracks that we get. So it's always that situation
You're
that
the bad guy.
you're the bad guy, and I try to. I mean, it's a lot, so I usually don't have time. But if I hear something in a track that I find is something unique or special or whatever, I've even connected artists with other labels because I thought it would be a better fit at another label. I could hear the value in the track for another label, but it wouldn't fit with us. Doesn't mean the track is bad, and that's usually also how I approach the music and how I approach the feedback. Is I let the artist know, like, hey, the track is great. It just doesn't fit the label. That doesn't mean that the track is bad or anything. It's just for our specific sound and fan base, I have to make sure as an A&R that the sound of Revealed remains the sound of Revealed.
Yeah.
So, of course, we can move and experiment, but still it has to be the Revealed sound for the Revealed fan base.
Yeah.
And if you suddenly come with like a super melodic techno, 120 BPM, whatever track that sounds amazing, I'm still gonna decline it, but the track might be awesome on another label. So
That's so good to know for producers, because that's you should never take it personally if your track gets declined. And like you said, you say no a lot, and we producers, and you Jelle also know this, we get no's a lot, and you get used to it, but it always hurts.
it always hurts. And I remember that from being an artist, like all the no's. I still remember more about the no's than about the yes, basically.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how much it can hurt. So that's why I try to, if I hear something special in there, I really try to guide an artist that we're not even going to work
Nice.
with. Just like, hey, look in this direction and you'll be set.
Yeah. What's
That's
also
very nice.
good to know, I guess, for listeners is we always talk about artists that they need to pick a niche and be consistent with what they put out because your audience expects a certain thing. But a label has to do the same.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Revealed also has a certain niche to protect, right? And the songs that they release need to fit within those barriers. Otherwise, it's just way too much outside of their, let's say, comfort zone or outside their sound. So it's also good before you send a song to an A&R to kind of think about, does this song actually fit the sound of the label? Because I can imagine that some people just want to get signed to Revealed because of the name.
Yeah.
But they don't really think about, do I actually fit in there?
No, I mean, my job at first, like the whole base, the foundation of the job is protecting the brand.
Yeah.
It's about protecting the sound and pushing that sound further, but still remaining a signature sound, just like an artist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if I get sent bass house tracks like on a weekly basis, but we don't do bass house. We never did. So there's like not a single match. Like even if I would sign the track, your track would do 0 streams because that's not our audience.
Yeah, nobody likes it.
Like we can put it on Revealed, but nobody at Revealed fan base, they really care about this sound. So it's
or it has to be really good.
Yeah, of course.
Like the knocking up
if
records,
are
really
really
cool bass
unique.
house. Like
if it fits the Revealed sound in a certain way and it has like I don't know, influences or vibes from Revealed, but it's kind of a different genre. Yeah, we do that. We actually got a really cool track coming up.
Sometimes you have those
128
tracks,
BPM, and
they're so good they go over the genres. They're like a little bit of a genre, but they're just. But hey, that almost never happens.
It happens sometimes, and you have to stay open and aware for that as well. So that's why I listen to every demo, because you get the coolest tracks from the strangest sources.
Do you sometimes like see a name and they maybe send in more demos, or you just know them and you already have a feeling with them, like I'm not gonna like this? That's also a hard thing.
Assumptions.
Or
you favor them. That could be the case as well. Yeah.
That happens, but it usually comes from what I said before. Like if the initial ideas and concepts within the track have something special in there, then of course, if I hear that like multiple times from an artist, hey, here's my WhatsApp number. Hey, come to the studio, and we'll try to figure out how we can make this work.
It's really a good thing.
That happened with a couple of artists now that I sort of almost trained them into becoming a better producer and knowing, teaching them some of the tricks to have their idea and then put all the tricks and the magic around it, and then it's that complete product that we can actually work with as a label as well.
It's actually a really fun job.
It is. It's very fulfilling as maybe even more than an artist, but than being an artist, because I'm sort of still part of making and producing a track, but it's not under my name, but I can see somebody else go from a rough demo to something that that's going to be played on main stages or whatever. That's amazing. That's the coolest part of the job by far.
Here's a question from the community. What is one thing about labels that you would like to change?
Ooh, the royalties.
The splits.
Not
the salary for their A&Rs.
No, nothing really comes to mind actually. No? It's I think the last couple of years there are a lot of discussions about how valuable a label still is and if you should self-release or work with a label. But I think how the market turned out now, there's room for both. And there's space for both, and both have their value. So you can self-release something, but you also can see what a label can bring to you still. So I feel like where labels are now. No, I would not.
Sorry, if you see me smiling, I'm 12 years old. So
it's an ongoing joke in this podcast. Self-releasing.
Are we back on? Okay,
we're back on track.
Can't help but smiling. I'm sorry.
What's your Jelle? What's your take on that? As in, we talked about that a lot as well on the podcast. We're a big fan of self-releasing here.
You do it together, or
like group therapy every week. What's your take on the whole self-releasing versus label thing?
Well, if you're an upcoming artist and you self-release, then you basically throw your track into the nothing.
Sorry, I'm so loving the metaphors here. It still can be OnlyFans, this.
But like in the end, you have to collect an audience. So if there is no audience, you can do with the track whatever you want, but nobody's gonna listen to it. So that's kind of a waste of your track. So if you build an audience by releasing with labels, then do I don't even dare to say the word anymore.
No, but
an SR. If you do a SR,
yeah,
then you have an audience that's going to listen to it. So then it has value. So it's kind of balancing both. And sometimes you have like a super experimental track that doesn't really fit the labels that you want to release on. And the labels say, like, hey, it's cool, but not for us. And that happens like 5 times. And then you can go either to a really small label that doesn't really add anything, or you can do it yourself.
yeah,
Well, then do it yourself.
In
yeah.
the end,
So
you do have to have a marketing plan. How
Yes.
I mean, even going through the streets, ringing the doorbell, and saying to people, "Will you listen to my track?" is some sort of a marketing plan. How can you get people to listen? Labels obviously already have a backing, a fan base. The thing, though, which I and Jelle, you probably can confirm, I don't like, but it's not a label thing, is that it's so much data driven right now. And if your track doesn't do well in the first 2 weeks, it's also like throwing it into the pond. Maybe the timing and place is not right. It can be a little bit for further down the stream, but man, it's for an artist sometimes pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, changing things about Spotify, then I have a whole list for you
Yeah,
with the algorithms and everything. I mean, it's really, they're making it really hard for artists to have an audience find them by now because everything is like
Yeah,
you get as a streamer you get thrown in this tunnel and you get like a handful of artists in your face and no new talent pops up and that's really
no.
you know
difficult.
what's
yeah. What is
crazy?
sad is like I always realized with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and stuff, you don't want to be dependent on them because they might change the algorithm, and then out of nowhere you don't reach anyone, which has happened as well. But the kind of the same now for Spotify, for the way they, yeah, everybody consumes your main product. It's kind of part of it's like a sort of random, and
To be
it's
honest, it's also the audience because, and I'm very
yeah,
guilty of that because that's where comfort is actually not okay. I'm also a playlist guy.
Hmm.
When I'm in the gym and I hear, for instance, like Linkin Park comes by, I immediately press radio and hear tracks like it. So it's also just the way we as an audience consume
yeah,
music. Yeah, and that they take that into account, I can totally agree. But must be also frustrating for you as a label. Like there's less control over how to plug a record. I mean, you can go all in and it still can fail. The failure rate is maybe even bigger than before.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like there are no guarantees at
Yeah.
all anymore. Like back in the days 10 years, 15 years ago when we all came up, there was sort of if you knew like the label would invest some money, there would be a marketing plan. You actually knew that it would be
Yeah,
big. Not how big, but it would be big anyway, just
yeah.
because of the marketing plan and everything. And those guarantees they are pretty much gone now. So that's yeah, that's difficult. And sometimes you think about a track like, hey, this is gonna do really big, and it does nothing, and then something else that you didn't expect much of that suddenly goes through the
Yeah.
roof, and it's
Those are the
difficult.
fun
But
ones, and the other ones just suck. And
Yeah.
yeah, but must be frustrating also as a label. Yeah, I can
yeah,
totally
but it's also
imagine.
yeah,
part of the game, and I think as a label and as an artist, I think the label and the artist whole vision is basically the same anyway. By the
yeah.
way,
You're on the
you
same team.
yeah, you're on the same team and you have the same approach and you just have to take risks. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And you have to experiment. And like what they used to say, like people only remember your last track. Those times have changed completely and people just remember the good tracks. And if something does nothing, nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talking about that.
we actually also that was so different from 10 years ago. Then you would release a track maybe every 2 months,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now we also. But as an artist or a creative person, that was for me the hardest to adjust to. That you just put out stuff because people will forget anyway.
Yeah,
But that definitely has changed
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much. No.
Going back to the marketing and promotion side, because I think that can be valuable for people as well. How do you look at that right now? As in, let's say someone would self-release their song. Um, what are the best ways to promote their song by now, knowing that the algorithms and stuff work differently?
Really depends on the track and the goals you have,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest. I mean, like you have to think about the end result before you start any marketing campaigns, because you can throw an endless amount of money into the bin. There's plenty of parties who are very happy to take your money.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what you want to achieve, and so you have to think about basically everything. Like, okay, do I want, I don't know, followers on my SoundCloud, on my Instagram, on my Spotify? Do I want streaming income? Do I want as much playlist as possible? Do I want DJ support? And they all take a very different strategy and approach. And this can go as deep as also deciding which target audience you want to reach. Like, if you want to tour, I don't know, France, for instance, yeah, it's useless to then put your money in promoting in Germany, you know?
Yeah. So really think about the goal before you start thinking about which tools you're going to use.
Yeah, for sure, because there's so many tools and they all do a little bit, but no tool does everything, and no tool pays back the amount of money you put in overall. I mean, if you have a hit, it can happen, but generally it's more expensive than it will pay in royalties. So it really depends on what's your other goal. And if you're a touring DJ and you need to find new countries you want to play, then you target that audience and you change your strategies to that.
Yeah. Okay. One question I saw a few times in the community is looking into a glass bowl. Like, what's the next big trend that you see coming up?
Ooh.
You mean, what do I get in my inbox for the next year?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you guys looking at Revealed? Like, right now it might be the more how do you call it? The techno EDM kind of sound, or how would you describe it?
I don't really have a name for it.
Yeah. But
I
what
mean,
will be the next thing? Like,
Noise.
what's the thing that you're kind of focusing on? Is it fidget or?
actually, this is my personal opinion, but my whole body is saying again, Fidget is gonna make a comeback.
Next year?
I guarantee next year, Fidget will be back in
Honestly,
some way or form.
I think I agree, because if I look at, I was just watching a live stream from that guy on the bike. Do you know that? The DJ on the bike who's
Oh yeah.
like, it's crazy how he built his fan base, by the way. Like, he was going to Barcelona, I think hundreds, maybe even thousands of people following him. Crazy. But he was also playing like dubstep, like ish kind
All the sounds before Fidget blew up, they are relevant at the moment. Like, so the speed garage,
You
the
can hear a
dubstep.
lot of garage influence.
Yeah, but Fred
and
again is also doing it, right? He also has some sort of those influences in there.
the BPM of house is going up again. The old rave sounds are either making a comeback, and with hard techno and stuff, it already made a comeback, and that's all developing. And I think these types of sounds really gonna make a comeback. And the same with trance music, like the early trance music, like the 2000s trance.
Yeah,
So not the late 2010 trance, but like the early stuff. I think that's
So you're
gonna
saying
make.
we're now like 2003, 4-ish. So Fidget will come. Will Big Room come back?
After that.
if you would call that one on this podcast, we go viral.
No, I mean, it's just a guess, but if you look at the historical circles of all the sounds, it makes a lot of sense if Fidget and trance would make some sort of a comeback. And I think looking at the artists that are currently big or really growing their fan base, they are somewhat affiliated with these types of sounds. I mean, artists who are doing.
I heard a remake of Divine Gosa come by the other day.
Oh, really?
Wow.
And of course, everybody heard. Was it Switch? That
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that
little
quite a lot.
patchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit patchy.
I
Yeah.
have that on
That's,
vinyl. Wow.
Wow, you're old.
I think a lot of
You're
good
old.
music, a lot of good music also has a feel of nostalgia,
Yeah.
and I think that's of course with like styles coming back. There's a hint, even like the newer, like let's say hard trance now or whatever. It sounds, they use the old sounds but also new techniques, and that gives it that hint of nostalgia. Also for some reason also for the new generation, which I find very interesting. But that's why it maybe works so well.
Yeah, I mean the old tricks in like all the new plugins and samples and stuff. It sort of brings something new to the table again, and early hardstyle is sort of coming back. Hard house is coming back. All the sounds from between like 2000 and 2008 or something, they all sort of seem relevant again.
What about jump
So,
style?
uh,
Silent for too long.
Do you remember that?
Where's Patrick Jumper?
Do you
when
remember
need
that,
him?
that everyone was doing like that little dance here in the Netherlands, like the jump style?
were you good at it, Joey?
No, I know how to hack,
Ah,
but not really jump. As in,
I mean, you live close to Belgium, so
yeah, true. Yeah, I did listen to it a lot though. I had like the big Jump album and stuff, so I know the sounds from Jekyll and Hyde and stuff. But I never really.
Patrick, everybody Google or YouTube Patrick Jumpen.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a guy from a Volksbuurt in Eindhoven.
oh, he was from your neighborhood.
No, I'm not. No, I'm from Drunen.
Oh, okay,
Do
okay,
not.
From Drunen, where we have the herfstcake at Bakker Allard. But
okay.
that's a whole different story.
In the heart of Brabant.
But no, he. This was like when I was, I think, 15, and jump style was this really short hype in
Yeah.
electronic music, where there was this jump style, the dance associated with it, and Patrick Jumper was one of those guys who in his backyard would do these sessions. You could learn how to do jump style and how to, and then we would have the high school party, and there would be like guys in the corner like doing jump style, and
Yeah.
it's just, but it was really short. I think it only was like
Year.
2 years maybe,
Yeah,
or
year or
one, maybe
two,
2
1 year
years.
to
If you
one
Then it
think
was
back to it,
gone. Then it was
if
gone.
you think back to the whole Gabber period, man, it was just bonkers, man. It's
And party animals and
insane.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like the real
Before
deal,
that.
you know. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
If you see those parties, sometimes it comes up in my TikTok as well, like the 1994
Crazy.
parties,
Those
which I
raves.
weren't a part of because I was way too young then. I was just born, and no, but it's just insane how the people looked, dressed, danced.
Yeah.
Everything was just insane. Like,
Yeah.
how could we ever be there? But also so much fun.
But you can kind of see that era returning as well, like people wearing Australian outfits, Nikes, like the fluor kind of clothing. The era of Gabber is kind of coming back in some kind of way, and I think you can see it in the techno scene as well. Some influences.
Oh yeah, of course, happy hardcore. Like, actually, I think Oliver Helders just did a track really influenced by the
Yeah, with
Charlie
Dion.
Low Noise kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah, it's a cool track, by the way. I really
Really
love it.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, and of course you can see in a lot of the hard techno scene, you have a lot of those tracks. See, like Modern Hofstad, the dance, hard house scene. You have a lot of those influences already, and it's a lot
I
of
do
fun.
think as an A&R, you probably need to be really aware of kind of what's happening, like what's gonna happen. But I do think as a producer, for me at least, it's really I shouldn't be focusing on what is like, oh, what's the next big thing. I just kind of want to get inspired by music that I love, and then give my own twist to it. Or but that's maybe one of the for you might notice that big difference as an A&R. You do want to be way more involved with, hey, what's the next thing, or do I see
Yeah,
that
but
wrong?
not entirely, because we also have our own signature sound as a label, which
Yeah.
we just try to develop. So we're also kind of not looking too much at what others are doing, because we have our own lane, just like an artist. And as an artist as well, I think it's good to know what's going on. But if you let it influence you too much, then you're sort of already behind,
Yeah.
to put it like that. Like when something is becoming a trend, you're already too late to jump on it.
Yeah.
But if you are developing a sound and you notice there is a buzz going on, then you are ahead of the curve. And then it's really good to know that, hey, there's actually something going on in what I'm doing right now. Let's move on with it. Let's push it even further.
It's really funny because it's like Bitcoin, as soon as you see TikToks about Bitcoin
Yeah.
being really good, you're too late. It's too high. Wait a few months, and
When
then
new NL writes that it's high, then
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you
yeah.
should be out already.
Buy high, sell low, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's so easy. Hey, yeah,
Yeah, it's similar, I think.
we're approaching the
Yeah.
end of the episode. Is there one thing?
No.
Is there
sorry.
one takeaway that you want to give to all the people sending you music? Like, is there one golden tip you want to give them?
No.
Stop sending me trash.
No, I mean it's different for everybody, and everybody's at a different stage at their career, at their life. Everybody has different goals, so there's
What's
not
your
one.
favorite? Do you like favorite SoundCloud over Dropbox, or do you have a favorite in the medium they send you the music on? Or
The less you write in an email, the better. Like saying why I should listen to a track or what the track sounds like, I don't care because I'm gonna listen to it anyway. So the more you write, the more I expect, and the more chance that it actually doesn't meet the expectations. Writing that you released with 10 different labels means to me that you're not really invested with the label, but just send it everywhere. So I don't really care about all this info. So I just want a Dropbox link with the file correctly named that I can take into the A&R meeting. And if it's good enough with that we decide with the A&R team that we're going to take it to Hardwell to give the final say if he wants it yes or no. And then we move on from there. But like until then, I don't need much info.
it's very good to know. Actually,
Yeah,
it's
hi.
for me as well. But also, I
This
think
is my
for
track.
Yeah. Hi.
no, but
Yeah, that's really just enough because all the other stuff is just. I mean, for some labels it matters if you write like, "Hey, I got 8 million streams," but we don't really care about that.
Yeah,
So
it's all noise.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know. Good tips there.
just keep it simple, and the more you do stuff around it, the more noise there is that
But
probably makes the track less interesting.
let's say it already gets quite some significant support. You do want to say that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but
no,
that's relevant to the
yeah,
track.
yeah, okay. That's okay.
Okay.
So everybody listening,
yeah,
lie your ass off.
Yeah.
exactly.
We got all the statistics for everything, so no lies.
Yeah.
No, and in the end, it's just simple. It needs to be a fit, and you have to love it all. And yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And again, that doesn't mean that it's a bad track. It's just not a fit for that particular label.
Yeah.
Do you, if you do think it's like not like not produced well at all? If you really hear like really beginner, do you say something about that, or do you try to subtly say, "Hey, this isn't quality yet"? Or
Sometimes, if the idea is good and the rest is not, then I'll let them know. Definitely, then
Yeah.
it's worth spending more time on it. And
Yeah.
other times, it's just a no. I mean, what else can you say about it?
Yeah,
True.
interesting, man. Cool story.
very interesting.
Is there anything you guys want to shill?
Yeah, I'm always chilling, man. Hey, it's in 2 days. There's a new track coming online. It's called Boadicea. Out on all portals. Make sure to playlist it, share it with your friends, your mom, dad, your dog, everything. Send an email to Jelle Keizer at revealed.com to say, no, I'm just kidding. But the track is coming out and I'm very happy with it.
Perfect.
And next year there's a track of Bass Checkers coming on Revealed and it's going to be sick.
Hey,
There we go. And you?
Yeah, I'm working on so much music. There's so much laying ready.
I'm
like
doing an album.
2025 is going to be so big.
big announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm actually like I said before. I'm really just focusing now on just creating many ideas, and just trying to find my sound, and like I'm really enjoying. I'm making a lot of ideas, and it's really fun. And hopefully next year I can every week shameless plug like a new release into this podcast that people have to go
Yes.
stream.
Yeah.
Hey, and real projects contain
Meaty.
meaty.
Only audio files that said mastered by.
Yeah. Exactly. Jelle, anything to shill?
No, but just one final takeaway for everybody, I think, is keep the fun in the music, because you can actually hear when a track is not made with fun.
Good tip, very good tip. Thanks for taking the time to do this, man. Fun catching up with you. It's been a while, so great
sure.
to see
Thanks
that
for
you're
having
doing
me.
well. No worries. Happy to have you here. And yeah, see you next time. Enjoy your day.
And make
Thanks, you
sure
too.
to
We'll speak
like
soon.
this podcast, playlist it, comment on it, and
Share
share
it with
it.
your dog. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. See you guys next week. Bye bye.